Who has but once dined his friends, has tasted whatever it is to be Caesar. And so it was with Dr. Fischer, a man who despised the human race. A multi-millionaire, he lived in seclusion in a white mansion by the lakeside in Versoix. Following the death of his wife, Fischer's contempt of all the world grew, and his cruelty echoed all over Geneva. With his taste for sadism, he spent all his time and money hosting notorious parties and entertainments designed to humiliate and expose the shallowness and greed of the super-rich. He neglected his only child, Anna Louise, who, on becoming of age, found love and a simple life with Alfred Jones. Their happiness, however, was short-lived. Anna Louise died in a tragic skiing accident carrying their child. Following a failed suicide attempt, and in a state of extreme depression and despair, Mr. Jones finally accepts an invitation to what Dr. Fischer called the extreme test and final party. Out on the lawn, the table was extravagantly displayed. Large candles adorned the centre, and four enormous bonfires crackled away across the snow, and lights were hanging from the branches of every tree. The guests were all dressed formally for dinner, with the exception of Mr. Jones.
Come in, Jones. I invited him because he's all alone after my daughter's death. This is Jones, everyone, my son-in-law. This is Mrs. Montgomery.
Oh, yes, I remember you. You did know it was a dinner party.
And Madame Belmont?
I too have previously met Mr. Jones.
Mr. Richard Dean?
Nice to meet you, Mr. Jones.
And lastly, Divisionaire Kruger.
Mrs. Jones, my pleasure.
Jones is a great linguist. He translates letters about chocolate. Here, Jones, at our little parties, we use English as our common language, because Richard Dean here, great star though he may be, speaks no other, though he usually attempts a kind of French after his regular intake of wine. He has the qualities after a drink or two to play Falstaff, except a lack of humour and a lack of weight. The second tonight we shall do our best to remedy. The humour, I'm afraid, is beyond us. You may ask what is left. Only his fast diminishing reputation among teenagers. Madame Belmont, you're not enjoying yourself. Is something wrong? Perhaps you're missing our usual aperitifs. But tonight, I didn't want to spoil your palates for what is to come.
No, I assure you, nothing is wrong, Dr. Fischer, nothing.
I always insist, Jones, at our little parties, that everyone enjoys themselves.
Oh, they're a riot. I tell you, an absolute riot.
Dr. Fischer is invariably a very good host.
And so generous. This necklace I'm wearing was a prize at our last party.
Yes, there's always a little prize for everyone.
Yes. Tonight, Mr. Jones, our wonderful Dr. Fischer, has made a game and put all our prizes in a bran tub.
So much fun and intrigue. He keeps us coming back for more.
Yes.
Prizes? For what?
Oh, certainly not for intelligence, or the divisionaire would never win anything.
Oh, well, no, all we have to do is just put up with his little whims, and then he distributes the prizes. There was one evening, can you believe it? He served up live lobsters with bowls of boiling water. We had to catch and cook our own. One nicked the general's finger.
Oh, I bears his scar still.
The only wound in action which he has ever received.
Oh, it was such a riot.
Anyway, it turned her hair blue. Before that, it was an unsavory grey, stained with nicotine.
Not grey, a natural blonde, and not nicotine stained.
Now remember the rules, Mrs. Montgomery. If you contradict me once again, you will lose your prize.
No, that happened once at one of our parties to Madame Belmont. She lost an 18-carat gold lighter.
It was little loss to me. I don't smoke.
Now, perhaps before we eat our dinner, I should explain to our new guest the etiquette we observe at these parties.
Most necessary, Dr. Fischer. And I think also, if you will excuse me, you should have put his presence here to the vote. After all, we are a kind of club, are we not?
I agree with Mrs. Belmont. We always know where we stand. We accept certain conditions. It's all in the spirit of fun. The stranger might misunderstand.
Oh, mon cher divisionnaire in search of $1. You're afraid that the value of the prizes may be reduced with the addition of another, just as you'd hoped the value would rise after the death of 2 of our number.
No, you misunderstand.
Mrs. Montgomery, would you mind fetching me the silver tray?
Oh, yes, certainly. Ah, caviar. I adore caviar. I could live on it.
I'll take that, thank you. You could afford to live on it if you were prepared to spend your own money.
I'm not such a rich woman as all that.
Why bother to lie to me? If you were not as rich as you are, you would not be sitting at my table. I only invite the very rich.
What about Mr. Jones?
Well, now, Dean, let's say that he is here as an observer rather than a guest. But of course, as he's my son-in-law, he may imagine he has great expectations. Expectations, too, are a form of wealth. I'm sure someone could arrange him substantial credits, and expectations are not taxable. Now, bibs, everyone.
Oh, écrevisse. J'adore écrevisse.
Mrs. Montgomery, would you mind fetching the dinners?
Oh, you're keeping me very busy. Certainly, Dr. Fischer. Why, this is porridge. Cold porridge.
Of course. Real Scots porridge, Mrs. Montgomery. You should appreciate it with your Scots name.
It will destroy our appetite. Damn you!
Oh, don't be afraid of that. There's nothing to follow.
This is going too far, Dr. Fischer. Cold porridge? Why, it is totally inedible.
Well, don't eat it then. Don't eat it, Madame Belmont. By the rules of the game, you'll only forfeit your prize.
Well, if we could perhaps have a little sugar, it might help.
I understand that Scots consider it blasphemy to spoil their porridge with sugar. They even eat it, so I'm told, with salt. You may certainly have salt, Madame Belmont, but I see you've decided to go hungry.
No. I won't spoil your little joke, Dr. Fischer. Give me some salt. It cannot make the porridge much worse.
You don't attempt yours, Jones?
I'm not hungry enough.
Not rich enough. For several years I've been studying the greediness of the rich. To him that hath shall be given. Those cynical words of Christ they take very literally. Given, not earned, you notice. The presents I give out when the dinner is over, they could easily afford themselves, but then they could have earned them by only signing a cheque. The rich hate signing cheques, hence the success of credit cards. One card takes the place of hundreds of cheques. They'll do anything to get their presents for nothing. This is one of the hardest tests I've submitted them to yet, and look how quickly they're eating their cold porridge. Mr. Dean, it seems that you're ready for a second helping.
Oh no, please, not a second helping.
It's for the sake of Mr. Dean, Jones. I want him fattened so he can play Falstaff. I'm joking, of course. Dean could no more play Falstaff than Britt Ekland could play Cleopatra. Dean is not an actor, he's a sex object. Teenage girls worship him. How disappointed they would be if they could see him without his clothes. I have reason to believe he suffers from premature ejaculation too. Perhaps the porridge will slow you down, Dean, my poor fellow. Another plate for the divisionaire, and I see Mrs. Montgomery is nearly ready too. No presents before anyone has finished. Watch them, Jones. They are so anxious to be finished, they even forget to drink.
I don't suppose wine goes well with porridge.
Have a look at them, Jones. They won't take it amiss.
I don't find them funny.
Of course, I agree. A party like this has its serious side. But all the same, aren't you reminded of pigs eating out of a trough? You would almost think they enjoy it. Divisionaire has spilt some porridge over his shirt. Clean it up, Mrs. Montgomery.
Oh, you revolt me, Fischer.
Yes, I can understand how you feel. I sometimes feel that way myself, but my research must go on to its end. Bravo, Madame Belmont. You're catching them up. You ply a good spoon, Dean. Yes, my boy. I wish your female admirers could see you at this moment, guzzling away.
Why do you do it?
Why should I tell you? You're not one of us. You never will be. Don't count your expectations from me.
I don't.
You have a poor man's pride, I see. After all, why shouldn't I tell you? You're a sort of son. I want to discover, Jones, if the greed of our friends has any limit, if a day will come when they'll refuse to earn their presents. Their greed certainly isn't limited by pride. You can see that yourself. I think that tonight will mark the end of my experiment.
You are a rich man yourself. Are there limits to your greed?
Perhaps I shall find out one day. But my greed is of a different kind to theirs. I'm not greedy for trinkets, Jones.
But trinkets are harmless enough.
I like to think that my greed is a little like God's.
Is God greedy?
Oh, don't think for a moment I believe in him any more than the devil. But I've always found theology an amusing and intellectual game. Believers and sentimentalists say he is greedy for our love. I prefer to think that, judging from the world he's supposed to have made, he can only be greedy for our humiliation. And that greed, how could you ever exhaust? It's bottomless. The world grows more and more miserable while he twists the endless screw. Though he gives us presents, the universal suicide would defeat his purpose, to alleviate the humiliations we suffer. A cancer of the rectum, a streaming cold, incontinence. For example, you're a poor man, so he gave you a small present, my daughter, to keep you satisfied.
But not for long.
You see, Jones, Mrs. Montgomery's necklace will have lasted longer than your so-called love.
Why should he wish to humiliate us?
Well, don't I wish to humiliate? And they say he made us in his image. Perhaps he found out that he was a rather bad craftsman and is disappointed in the result. One throws a faulty article in the bin. Do look at them and laugh, Jones. Have you no humour? Everyone has an empty plate except Madame Belmont. How impatient they're getting now. Why, Dean is even finishing up her plate for her. I'm not sure it's quite in accordance with the rules, but I will let it pass. My friends, will you untie your bibs and have some vodka? I shall go and check the presents.
He's gone to the end of the garden. What's he doing?
Oh, he's hiding the crackers in the bran tub. It was my idea. Just fancy, he had never heard of such a thing before. I don't think he could have had a very happy childhood, do you? But he took to the idea at once. You see, he's put the presents inside the crackers and the crackers inside the bran tub. We all have to draw them out at random with our eyes closed.
Suppose you get a present that doesn't suit you.
Oh, impossible. These presents are designed to suit everyone equally.
What is there in the world which can possibly suit everyone?
Well, just wait and see. He'll tell us. Trust him. At the bottom, he's a very generous man.
My friends, the presents are ready. Please, drink up, drink up.
I can drink Finnish vodka with a good conscience.
They fought a remarkable campaign in the winter of 1939. If the French had done as well in 40...
Did you see me in the beaches of Dunkirk?
No, I wasn't at Dunkirk.
It's the film I meant.
No, I'm afraid I didn't see it. Why?
I just wondered. I think it was quite the best film I ever made. Would you like a cigarette?
Yes, please.
Oh, dear, Mr. Jones. Let me light it for you.
Pity. Always pity. Women have such an exaggerated sense of pity. My daughter probably married you out of pity, Jones. Mrs. Montgomery would marry you too if you asked her, but pity wears off quickly when the pitied one is out of sight.
What emotion doesn't wear off?
Love.
I've never been able to sleep with a woman for more than 3 months. It becomes boring.
Then that isn't real love.
How long were you married, Mrs. Montgomery?
Oh, 20 years.
Yes, I must explain to you, Dean, that Mr. Montgomery was a very rich man. A big bank balance helps real love last longer.
My fingers are itching to get at the bran pie.
Just a lot of crackers, Madame Belmont.
Just crackers? Oh, you silly man. We know you better than that. It's what's in the crackers that counts.
5 crackers and 4 contain pieces of paper.
Jokes. Of course. All good crackers contain jokes.
Yes, but what else? What else is in the crackers, Dr. Fischer?
Oh, there are no jokes. These pieces of paper are printed with the name of my bank in Zurich.
Checks? Surely not checks?
Yes, checks, divisionnaire, and each made out to the same amount so that nobody feels jealous.
I don't much like the idea of checks between friends. Oh, I know you mean to be kind, Dr. Fischer, and we have all appreciated the little presents you have given us at the end of all your parties. But checks? It's not very dignified, is it? Apart from any fiscal problems.
I'm paying you off. That's what it amounts to.
We're not your employees, damn it, Fischer.
Are you so sure of that? Haven't you all played your parts for my amusement and your profit? Dean, you for one must have felt quite at home taking my orders. I've just been another director who lends you a talent you don't possess yourself.
I don't have to accept your bloody check.
Well, you don't have to, Dean, but you will. Why, you'd even play Mr. Darling in Peter Pan shut up in a dog kennel if the cheque was large enough. Of course, you're all at liberty to refuse my little farewell presents if you wish. I will take away the bran tub. But before you decide, I think you ought to know what is written on those scraps of paper. 5 million francs on each.
5 million?
The name's left blank on all the checks. You can fill in any name you wish. Mrs. Montgomery, perhaps you may want to buy a lover. Dean, you can partly finance a film. He's becoming, my friends, what I believe they call in his world unbankable.
Oh, it doesn't seem quite proper. Well, it sort of suggests that you see us as mercenary friends.
Didn't your emerald suggest that?
Jewels from a man one loves are quite different. You don't realise how much we love you, Dr. Fischer. Platonic, perhaps, but is platonic less real than... Well, you know what I mean.
Of course. No, not one of you needs 5 million francs to spend on yourselves. You're all rich enough to give the money away, though I wonder if any of you will.
It does make a certain difference that our names are not written on the checks.
Tax-wise, I felt sure it would be more convenient, but you know all about such things.
I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking of human dignity.
Ah, yes, I understand. You really mean that it's more difficult to feel insulted by a cheque for 5 million francs than, say, 2,000.
I would have phrased it differently.
I am not a financier like Madame Belmont. I'm just a simple soldier. But I cannot see the difference between accepting caviar and accepting a cheque.
Bravo, General. It was just what I was going to say myself.
I was not making an objection, but as our names are not on the checks, I was only trying to be wise for all of us, especially Mr. Dean, who is American. It is my duty as a consultant.
You advise me to accept?
Under the circumstances, yes.
Yet there are only 4 pieces of paper, but 5 crackers. How is this? Is it because Mr. Jones isn't playing because he didn't eat the porridge?
This is Mr. Jones' first party, so he will have the same chance as any of you. In turn, you will go to the end of the garden to the bran tub and fish for your cracker. You will pull it while you stand by the tub, and then return to the table. That is to say, if you return at all.
What do you mean by if?
Friends, I suggest you all have another drink before I answer your question.
But you are making us all quite tiddly.
And you haven't answered the divisionaire's question. Why only 4 pieces of paper?
I drink to the health of all of you. Even if you refuse the crackers, you are still helping me in my last piece of research.
What research?
Into the greed of the rich.
Oh dear, Dr. Fischer. It is one of his little jokes. Drink up, Mr. Dean.
I have for a long time wanted to test the strength of your greed. You have submitted to a great deal of humiliation, and you have accepted it for the sake of the prize which followed. The porridge tested this humiliation better than I could have imagined.
Oh, it was no humiliation, you dear man. It was just your wonderful sense of humour. Well, we enjoyed it as much as you did.
Now, for the final test. I want to see if your greed can overcome fear. I've decided to call this a bomb party.
What the hell do you mean by a bomb party?
Yeah.
The 5th cracker contains a small charge, lethal probably, which will be set off by one of you when you pull the cracker. May I add that it is useless, indeed perhaps dangerous, for you to crinkle the crackers. They all hold the same type of metal container. But in one cracker, only one, is what I call the bomb. In the others are checks.
Oh, he's joking, of course.
Perhaps I am. You will know by the end of the party. Isn't the gamble worthwhile? death is by no means certain, even if you choose the dangerous cracker. If I give you my word that the checks are really there for 5,000,000 francs.
But if someone was killed, why? It would be murder.
Oh.
No.
She's right.
Murder? No, no. A form of Russian roulette, perhaps. Not even suicide.
I have never gambled for money. Don't any of you consider this highly immoral?
I don't see anything immoral in gambling. I have spent many a happy weekend at Monte Carlo. I once won 3 times consecutively on 19.
Bravo.
Sometimes I have been across the lake to Casino Evian. Never high stakes. But I am by no means a Puritan in these matters.
But are you seriously saying there is a bloody bomb in one of these crackers?
5,000,000 francs.
You, Dean, I am sure, will not refuse my little gamble. Remember, in The Beaches of Dunkirk, you bravely volunteered for suicidal missions. You were splendid. At least you were splendidly directed. You very nearly won an Oscar, didn't you? I will go, sir, if I may go alone. That was the great line I shall always remember. Who wrote it?
I wrote it myself. Not the scriptwriter or the director. It came to me suddenly like that on the set.
Oh, bravo. Congratulations, my boy. Now here's your chance to go to the brand tub alone.
Oh, no, let me go first. Let me pass. Let me through.
We should have drawn for turns. Move out of the way, Mrs. Montgomery.
But what's wrong, Mrs. Montgomery?
Oh, nothing's wrong. Oh, you dear man. Everything is absolutely right. 5,000,000 francs. Oh, give me a pen, somebody. I want to fill in my name. It might get lost.
Dr. Fischer, you are so generous. Thank you. But I must go now. Good night.
I will go, sir, if I may go alone.
What about you, Jones? The odds are narrowing.
I prefer to watch your damned experiment to the end. Greed is winning, isn't it?
If you watch, you must eventually play or leave.
Oh, I'll play, I promise you that. I'll bet on the last cracker.
You're a stupid and boring man. There's no point in choosing death if you want to die. What in God's name is Dean doing?
I think he's improvising.
Thank you, sir. It's a kind thought. Dutch courage never did anyone any harm. Quite unnecessary in your case, Captain, I know. Thank you, sir, but the more unnecessary it is, the better the flavor. If you come back safely, we'll split another bottle. Cough burns like this, I hope, sir. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, pull. Ah, Dickie Dean is in the chips.
Why did you stay, Mr. Jones?
I have nothing better to do with my time, General.
No, don't call me that. I am a general. I am not a general. I am a divisionaire.
Why have you stayed, divisionaire?
It's too late to turn tail now. I haven't the courage. I should have gone to the brand tub first when the odds were better. What was that man saying, Dean?
I think he was acting a young captain who volunteers for a dangerous mission.
I am a divisionaire. They don't go on secret missions. Besides, there are no desperate missions in Switzerland. Unless this is an exception. Will you go first, Mr. Jones?
No, I suggest you go first. I'm not in need of money. I'm after something else.
When I was a boy, I used to play Russian roulette with a pistol. It was very exciting. Of course, we might just walk away and leave him. If you would come with me, I don't want to go alone.
In my case, I have nowhere to walk to.
You knew the rules from the start, Divisionaire. Now, because the odds are not good, you begin to be afraid. Think of your honor as a soldier, as well as the prize. There are still 5 million francs in the tub. Ah, ha, ha. Well done, Divisionaire. You are now facing the enemy fire. Isn't this something you've always dreamt of? All those long years of Swiss neutrality?
But I was young then. I am old now.
I know how much you value money. You married money. You certainly didn't marry beauty. But even when your wife died, that didn't satisfy you, or you wouldn't have come to any of my parties. Here's your chance. 5 million francs for showing a little courage. Military courage facing the enemy fire, Divisionaire.
How you must despise yourself, Fischer. Don't move, Divisionaire. Let me go.
Stop! Jones! What a fool you are! Where was the hurry? You've irritated me all evening by your presence. You aren't like the others. You aren't in the picture. You haven't helped. You prove nothing. It isn't money you're after. You're just hungry for death. I'm not interested in that sort of greed.
But there is only my cracker left.
Yes, Divisionaire, and it's your turn to pull. I can't shoot you for cowardice in the face of the enemy, but I can promise you the story will be all around Geneva.
Oh, here. I'll buy your cracker for 5 million francs. Give it to me now.
What do you mean, Jones?
You don't own me. You didn't own your daughter. And you won't own the ending tonight.
Wait! Stop where you are, damn you! Tell me what in Christ's name do you mean?
This death belongs to me. I will not be lonely any longer. I will not be robbed by this child I hold in my hand.
Come back! Come back, Jones! I want to talk to you. Well, Jones, now you know. Are you disappointed? The Divisionaire has gone.
With his cheque?
Of course, with his cheque.
Your party was a success. You managed to humiliate us all. How you must have laughed when I bought the last cracker. You knew that all I would get was a little fart when I pulled it. That was an extra dividend for you, wasn't it? What are you going to live for now, Fischer? I don't think any of your friends will come back.
Are you so sure that I want to live? Do you want to live? You didn't seem to when you took those crackers.
You had your fun tonight anyway.
Yes, it was better than nothing. And nothing is a bit frightening, Jones.
It was a strange revenge you took.
What revenge?
All because your wife despised you? You had to despise the world.
Oh, she didn't despise me. Perhaps she hated me, and that's why she took her own life. But no one will ever despise me, Jones.
Except yourself.
You see, I should have bought her, like I bought all the others. And you, Jones, it's too late to buy you. What time is it?
Past midnight.
Goodbye, Jones. Time to sleep.